Today we are going to be looking at a historical study of indigenous sign languages in Africa up to the pre-colonial time. Part of the little discussion I'm having with you today is what we have been treating in our online certificate course on sign language linguistics and interpreting, and it's been fun so far. I just want us to touch a few areas and just look at a few things that have been going on in African deaf communities before we know. One of the things I want you to know about is that sign languages in Africa had been as old as the deaf communities in Africa. And it's just like the same in every other deaf community, in every other country. What it means is that as far as they're aware, deaf people living somewhere in a place that could be defined as a community, they used signing system. Those signing systems were not inferior to other signing systems used in any other part of the world. Those signing systems that they used were part of their cultural heritages. Right. So I want to make you understand that sign languages have been traced back to as early as the 1400s in some communities in Africa. That is to say that the deaf people that existed in different parts of Africa as far back as this were using their languages. People started noticing, oh, there were deaf people here, they used language. According to Miles 2004, deaf people had been in their different communities in some of African countries like Ethiopia, Egypt, South Africa, Nigeria, Chad, Ghana. Today, one of the most popular earliest sign languages that were discovered in Africa is the Adamorobe Sign Language. In this series and in the class that is going on, we are going to be talking about this sign language a lot. A lot of work has been done on Adamorobe Sign Language by Mary Edward, by Victoria Nice, by Nancy Fritz-Gerard, and some other scholars that have looked into the Adamorobe Indigenous Sign Language. Another sign language that was traced or that was cited as far as early as the pre-colonial times was the Bura Sign Language in Nigeria, and the sign language in some of the sign languages in the northern part of Nigeria, and the sign languages were traced amongst deaf people living in communities then. So you can begin to imagine how we got up to this position where almost everybody thinks about sign language as something that was given to us by Americans or the British or any other European country. Nothing explains it other than it is a simple misinformation. So the discussion we are making here is all about the indigenous sign languages of the indigenous deaf people that were here before the times of the influence of colonialism. And so if deaf people existed in communities, they had communication. And if they had communication, these were cultural heritages. It grew from amongst them. And if we are lovers of history, we do not want to cut off these things and say, okay, let's deal with what we have now. No. And the reason is, deaf children of African continents, a lot of whom are suffering from language gap, language deprivation. It points back to the neglect. It points back to the attempt to cut off from the historical facts about sign languages and deaf people in Africa. It points back to that. Another thing I want to point out in today's discussion is about the arbitrariness of sign languages. Is a common knowledge for linguists to try to classify languages according to their genetic relationships, to say that this language has relationship with this, with that, and there are many ways that linguists do this, by glottochronology, by deconstruction and reconstruction rather, and all that. But sign languages have been found to not only be independent of the spoken languages, but also independent of one another, even though they have, feature similarities. So it is also wrong for us to try to say that a sign language, an indigenous sign language that is used in a particular country, is originating from another country. There could be some give and take contact. Today, not too many people talk about American Sign Language as being brought up by folks in France or Britain. Not too many people talk about that. So in this series, we just want to let you know that the origins of sign languages, indigenous sign languages in Africa, can be traced as far back as the origins of these communities that use these sign languages. So we are going to be looking at different sign languages, like I said, the expressions and features that they have in Africa, but we need to understand that the sign languages we're talking about are not man-made sign languages or foreign actors giving sign languages. They are indigenous African sign languages by the indigenous African deaf people. We would like you to go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Please subscribe and send your comment, like, and also send your questions. This is a series I will be doing throughout this year and beyond, and we would like you to be part of it. Very soon we'll be asking you to send the video, short video of your indigenous sign language, and we'll be looking at that when we get into the grammar of sign language. We're just trying to lay a foundation to the series from what around. Remember, this is the Indigenous Voices, the Indigenous Hands of Save the Deaf and Endangered Languages Initiative. See you next week.